So, I'm about to show you some clips that spray tan orange God King Donald Trump posted on his failing Twitter knockoff site, Truth Social. It's important that I show you these and comment on the amazing amount of lies, because he is masterful. He is a wizard. He is a magician with the way and the frequency in which he lies. But it's important that I comment on this because very soon, and I mean really soon, people are going to forget that he was a convicted felon. You think I'm joking? Think about this. How long did it take before January 6th was an outrage to people were tourists? And how long did it take before the death of 5 officers was important to the death of Ashley Babbitt was a war hero? And the officers, that's how constant lies work. That's how manipulation and brainwashing works. That's why Donald Trump is such a good politician, not because he's good at politics or negotiations, but because his entire life has been predicated on marketing, which is brainwashing for money. If you say it enough, if you say it strongly enough, it becomes true. If your name is on it, then it's yours, even if it was built by somebody else and they just paid to put the Trump name on it, like every other building that has his name on it about now. So, without further ado, let's count the lies together, shall we?
I am the political prisoner of a failing nation, but I will soon be free on November 5th. The most important day in the history of our country, and we will together make America great again. Thank you.
If you got your scorecard ready, let's go. Lie number 1, you're not a political prisoner. You're at home at Mar-a-Lago, a multi-million-dollar hotel/house. A multi-million-dollar golf course, resort, hotel/home. If that's how political prisoners are imprisoned, sign me up. Number 2, you will not be free November 5th. If you do happen to go to jail and you're elected on November 5th, you still have to wait till the year after to pardon yourself, because that's exactly what you're just admitting you will do without question, which is also scary. That's 2 lies. Shall we continue?
After sitting for 5 weeks through that rigged trial in Lower Manhattan, which was surrounded by vast but unnecessary numbers of New York's finest in order to keep law-abiding MAGA patriots away, and as I watched insignificant numbers of fully funded radical left troublemakers with brand new and gleaming professionally made signs, screaming and cursing from areas said to be close to us and all others, I realized that reason, truth, and love of our country is no longer a force of good and change. These are dark days in America, but we will make America great again.
If you're counting, we're on number 3, but there's a very special quality to these lies here. I mean, his art of duplicity is as profound as his ability to go bankrupt. Lie number 1, there were multitudes of police keeping away all of his fans. Unfortunately, the only fan that anybody could see, because there were cameras there all day, every day, if you remember, that's why it's good to point these things out, was the guy who set himself on fire. After that, you got a little buzz outside. Before that, it was just empty. 1 or 2 people on this side, 1 or 2 people on that side. Now, here is the spectacular, unbelievably incoherent lie number 4, and I want you to think about this, how easy it is to just go over your head if you're already, salivating to hear words from your God King. But as rational people, number 4, when he says he saw an insignificant number of fully funded Democratic protesters there against him, with signs that were professionally made. How can you be fully funded, a fully funded protest, and be in insignificant numbers? It's hard to imagine that someone would fully fund an insignificant protest. You can halfway fund the protest, and therefore it becomes insignificant numbers. It's hard to fully fund a protest and ensure its insignificance. Am I making sense? That lie is chef's kiss.
If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. We have to save our country, and we're going to save our country. We're going to make America great again.
That's lie number 5. Unfortunately, this isn't as nuanced. This is one that he's been doing for so long that I'm going to let someone else explain it for me.
The point today is, if they do it to me, this could happen to anyone. Yes, of course. I'll have to remember that next time I'm cheating on my third wife with a porn star to pay her off when I'm running for president.
So a legal expense was called a legal expense, not a construction expense or an expense for sheetrock or cinder block or an expense for what other people might want to call it. No, legal expense was legal expense. There was nothing wrong. I was not involved in that designation, but what else would you have called it? It was absolutely done correctly. It was, in fact, a legal expense, and that is the so-called crime that you've been reading so much about.
You got your pens out there? I think we're at number 6. Lie number 6, well, it's not a legal expense. It's a reimbursement. What you did was screwed the wrong person because your wife was at home with her first child. In order to cover it up, you had your $1 million lawyer pay her hundreds of $1,000s to cover it up so you could run for president. That's called campaign finance fraud. After that, you reimbursed your $1 million lawyer with checks and called them legal fees. That's called falsifying business records or finance fraud. Either way, you're a fraud. Both ways is illegal.
My civil rights have been totally violated with this highly political, unconstitutional, and election-interfering witch hunt of a trial.
Lie number 7 and 8, I believe. Unconstitutional. No, actually, you committed fraud, which is illegal. The DA put your case up for indictment, and a jury of your peers indicted you. Biden didn't indict you. The left didn't indict you. Mao or Kim Jong-un or Cuba or Smartmatic didn't indict you. And then a different jury of your peers convicted you. That follows the Constitution exactly. And lie number 8, your civil rights were not only not curtailed, but they were lifted up to such an extent that most citizens don't get. While this man violated the gag order 10 times and was never put in jail for it, I would say that his civil rights were not only upheld, but indeed overprotected, more protected than any of the rest of us would have gotten. That's lie number 8.
Our failing nation is being laughed at all over the world for what's happening, but we're going to go forward and we're going to make America better than ever before. November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country, and we're going to get out there, we're going to vote like never before, and we're going to also appeal this rigged trial, and we're going to win at the appellate level or in the appeals courts, even if we have to go up to the United States Supreme Court, because everybody knew what a disgraceful sham this was. Thank you very much.
But here's the important part, YouTube. This is why I had to get this out now. I think I've done more videos in the past few days than I've done in weeks, because I don't do it like this, but things are getting important. Things are becoming historic. The conviction of this ex-president is historic. And if we don't document it, if somebody doesn't come out and say what it is constantly and immediately as it happens, you'll have the January 6th syndrome, because the other side is so adept at lying and making people think that up is down and down is up, and rioters and protesters are hostages, and criminals and convicted felons are presidential, that I need to be here, and all of my other counterparts on YouTube and everywhere else documenting this historic moment. So I will be here. And I even have something to commemorate the moment, and also to remind people when they inevitably forget, because they will, that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, convicted by a jury of his peers, not a political prisoner, sacrificing himself on the altar of his people. He defrauded his people and sacrificed them on the altar of Trump. This will remind you. You can get one right down there.